top of people's minds are environmental concerns. And of course we need to maintain clean air, land, and water. That's pretty basic. But we need to be able to protect and preserve our open space and our public lands as well. And on top of that, and in the same realm, we also need to be expanding our use of renewable energy and minimizing and eliminating our use of carbon fuels.
Yeah. All right, okay, so we're gonna modify the system just a little bit because you guys both gave such great pitches to volunteer with your campaigns at the beginning, and we are trying to kind of move along. So do you guys have materials here at the tables? Yeah, over there. So please, everybody, we're gonna move along. You guys did great at the beginning. Let's give another round of applause for these fierce, amazing future state senators in Colorado. BREs, you can donate, you can sign up to volunteer. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Please see Sophia over at the table who's helping me out today.
All right.
Thanks so much.
And I would like, without further ado, to bring our current congressional representative, Congressman Polis, to the stage. Thank you for being here. Yes, you can stand. He's also, by the way, our future governor. Absolutely. Yes. See, they're already going to get excited to be working together, all of that. All right, so Congressman Polis, you have 5 to 10 minutes to do your spiel. The less time you take doing that, I get more questions, which is fun for me, but this is really about you and connecting with the volunteers, so I will hush it and do your thing.
Well, thank you, everybody. We've had some great candidates that you've got to hear from today. I've gotten to know many of them, worked with some of them, and many of the folks who presented, of course, Tammy Story, Rebecca Cranston, and before that, Faith Winter, and some others. These are the critical races we need. If any of the things that you hear me talk about or them talk about are actually going to come to fruition, we need to win the governorship, the state senate, and the state assembly. And every one of those is going to be a challenging race. My race, I'll either win or lose by a couple points. You probably see they're already up attacking me. And you know what? They're always going to have more money on their side, but what we have on our side is people power. And that's what we are here today. And so it's all of your efforts and putting in, of course, starting with your family and friends and neighbors, making sure nieces, nephews, grandkids, siblings vote, register and vote. We're only 79 days away from the last day to turn in votes. I think we're, 60 days away, 59 from the ballots going out. It's happening. It's happening. And if we truly care about making progress in Colorado, our efforts need to be focused on this election now. I know many of you have been calling Cory Gardner and others for a long 2 years, right? So you've been making your calls. You've been doing your part. Well, guess what? The next 2.5 months is where we determine what government we have and who you're going to be calling for the next 2 months. And it'll make all the difference in whether they're doing what you want or whether they're simply giving you the runaround and saying no. It all comes down to these next 2.5 months. Our focus, and many of you know my work in education. I chair the State Board of Education. I started Schools to Serve At-Risk Youth. We want to make sure every kid in our state has access to free full-day preschool and kindergarten to get a strong start. And I need a Democratic Senate to be able to do that, right? We won't give up until we save Coloradans money on health care and extend coverage. And we hope to be among the very first states to achieve universal health care coverage here in Colorado. And to make that kind of progress, we'll need a Democratic Senate and a Democratic Assembly, and I need to be elected as governor. We have one of our young volunteer coordinator interns from our campaign, Joe. Where's Joe? Sign up with Joe to help. He's great. He's a high school student, like so many others across the state that are interning in our campaign. And we need your help because, again, we have a wonderful field program, but it's only as good as the volunteers who are willing to knock the doors or make the calls. And it's both. I prefer knocking doors myself. It gets me out, it's good exercise. But if you prefer making phone calls, they're both very important. And we have some of this election piece down to a bit of a science. We know who the people are that may or may not vote. If they vote, they're going to go our way, 9 out of 10 times. But they're people who don't often vote in off-year elections. Because if we can excite them and motivate them and get even close to the presidential year turnout levels for Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton in this off-year election, we will win the state Senate, we'll win the state assembly, and I'll be your next governor. Thank you.
All right, so let me say, I guess I'm just going to continue my theme of geeking out with the people that I'm talking to today. So thank you so much for being here and being willing to take our questions. So, if elected governor, when you're elected governor, you will be shifting gears from a legislative role where you're one of 435, or one of 535, if you think about it, right? To being an executive role, right? Which of your bold ideas will you get real results on first?
So, you know, the legislative role can be frustrating at times because you are one of many. Obviously, you've probably been following our Democratic members of Congress haven't exactly been getting our way on very many issues lately, right? We're trying to create a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers and DACA recipients. We're trying to fix the Affordable Care Act and shore up the exchanges. I mean, thus far, while our defense has been somewhat successful on many of these items, we've not been able to move forward on any of them. Governor is a whole new opportunity for our state to say, you know what, we're going to roll up our sleeves here and get it done. Especially with the Democratic Senate and Democratic Assembly, we will make strong progress towards our bold goal of universal preschool and kindergarten. And we might not get all the way there in the first 2 years, but I guarantee you we'll get a substantial way there towards full-day kindergarten. Maybe it'll start off with half-day preschool for free, right? Very stark difference on healthcare. My opponent, Walker Stapleton, wants to reduce the Medicaid expansion, throwing people off of healthcare. We see what we have today as the basis of what we need to do more to cover more people and save more costs. So we will support any reform that covers more people and reduces costs. So big differences. And we're going to focus, depending on what the voters, who the voters elect to the state legislature. I'm really excited about moving forward here in Colorado.
Awesome. That sounds very privacy and like very exciting, right? And I think similarly, you have a bold agenda for the environment that you want to push forward, right? So getting us to all 100% renewables by 2040. Obviously sooner would be great. Like, I think that's always, but like realistic goals I think that we can get to, right? I think one of the questions that comes up a little bit is you have also pushed forward, you know, potential initiatives for setbacks and different things, and that's kind of gone back and forth some different times. There are some initiatives going right now. Can people who like believe in you as an environmental champion still sometimes get confused on where you are on setbacks and oil and gas, and so can you kind of just expound on that for us for a little bit? Just sort of make it make sense for people who are like, well, what are you doing?
Well, I think people kind of understand that I try to push where I can to protect our health and safety for greater setbacks that allow property owners to have more rights. And people also realize that I have to operate in the political arena where we, to accomplish things, they often involve compromise, they often involve not your way or the highway, they involve working to make progress in the right direction. So I think I, have shown that I can do both. I mean, I think I have bold goals, and people will understand that we're going to do everything we can to make progress towards those goals. So I mean, if we're not in universal health care in 4 years, I guarantee you we'll have covered a lot of the uninsured. We're going to make as much progress as we can. Often it will also depend on the electorate and who they represent, because none of this is going to be a governor alone. We have a goal of 100% renewable energy by 2040, and by the way, I think you're right. Depending on how technology evolves, it could happen sooner. We're not making that into our assumption because we simply don't know. But with the same rate of technological improvement in storage and generation they've had just in the last decade, I fully expect that we will be there by 2040 or sooner. In fact, Excel will tell you today that new wind capacity costs substantially less than any other energy form, including existing coal. So new wind costs less, not just than new coal, but than
an existing hole. So it's where we're heading. We just need to make sure we have the right policies in place to promote cleaner air, healthier Coloradans, and of course to make this happen as soon as possible.
A little bit of a personal question. Do you get kind of excited about that opportunity and the prospect of doing that? Like, and to have a kind of a blue wave come in and then to actually get this stuff done?
Well, it'll only happen if you work to make it happen. So it's on you. I'm certainly doing my part. I'm working 16-hour days. We're doing everything we can. I hope all of you do too. Whatever that means, right? For some of you it might mean financial contributions. For others it might mean you can make phone calls. For others it means you can go door to door. For others it means mobilizing your neighborhood. But whatever that is, this doesn't happen on its own. This only happens if we all work together, and that means that I can win, and Phil Weiser can win, and Dave Young, and Jenna Griswold, and Jason Crow, and all of the state Senate candidates. So it's in your capable hands, and I'll look forward to doing my part.
All right, and then speaking of doing your part, and doing my part, in preparation for this forum, I was scanning the website, which polisforcolorado.com, obviously, whether you know your policy or not is not the question. And everybody really, we have such a short time, and there were so many great questions for Congressman Polis, our future governor, that it was hard to pick. So one thing that wasn't on your website that I know you have positions on are money in politics, right? And in terms of doing your part, you're putting your money where your mouth is, right? But you've also said you shouldn't be able to just dump money in, right? But in terms of going also, you're not beholden to anybody else's money, right?
Yeah, so as you know, I'm already being attacked by dark money, and what that means is those ads you see against me, we don't know who's funding them, and there's no way to find out. It's through the Republican governors, but they're donors in that, they say, some of them even say call Jared Polis, because then that way it classifies in a different way, but obviously they're attack ads. I would just say, first of all, visit our website, polisforcolorado.com. We do have a lot of policy on there. You can sign up to be on our email list if you're not getting our emails. I would also encourage you on Facebook, if you use it, and Twitter, like, share, retweet, help us reach more people. It's Jared Polis for Governor is the Facebook page. There's also a Congressman Jared Polis. That's my official site. It's a little more boring. But if you want the campaign and election stuff, go to the candidate Jared Polis, and then my personal Twitter is @JaredPolis, and the campaign Twitter is @Polis for CO. I'm a big supporter of campaign finance reform, and what that means is, at the very least, instant transparency and disclosure around all electoral-related paid communications. So we should simply not have dark money. I believe that would withstand a court challenge. The courts have ruled against corporations having different sets of restrictions, but we have a bill nationally, the Disclose Act, that would require disclosure of campaign donations. We can take similar steps at the state level to require transparency. I also have long supported matching funds for small donations so that people can fund their campaigns, and the state of Maine does this for their state offices. We have a bill federally with my colleague John Sarbanes to do this for Congress and the Senate, where if you go out and you collect $50 contributions, there would be a 6-to-1 match. And if your opponent is taking large contributions from PACs, or if they're self-funding, then those matches can go up. So it would provide a way that you could run a people-powered campaign. And I think that's the great frustration today, is that it seems like the dark money, the special interests, have a stranglehold over how people get elected in this country. And I'm sad to say that that's largely true. And again, the answer to that is we're never going to be able to spend as much as them, but we have the people power, the volunteers, the door-to-door, the phones, the work. Because at the end of the day, those corporations don't, right? They may have money, but often their employees might even vote for our candidates because we have a better story to tell about saving the money on healthcare, about improving their kids' education. So that's really what we need to accomplish in this election.
I think we have time for one quick question. I know you gotta get going soon. And this is kind of a person, I think there's so much going on that's so hard, right? And your website, polisforcolorado.com, is a great reflection of the many issues that people are facing, right? Discrimination, hatred, you face some of that, right? Violence, police brutality, healthcare, all the number of problems that, frankly, it gets overwhelming and depressing and hard to do. what I think a lot of people are looking for is a leader and a champion, and someone who we can trust, who we can go like, this guy's got our back, right? I personally think that that is you, and it is not Walker Stapleton, but can you tell us like how you are going to be our champion and our advocate and for the people? Like, why should the people of Colorado vote for you and trust you as our governor?
And that's a very important question, because I think part of the strategy of the other side, we saw this in the last presidential election, the last congressional elections, is to sow seeds of doubt among progressives and to cause progressives to sit out, to not vote. Because you know what, I'd be the first to tell you that I'm not perfect and no candidate is perfect. If by perfect you mean agrees with you on 100% of the issues. If you want that, you gotta run yourself, I'm sorry to say, because you're not gonna find it. But you know, we wanna be thoughtful, we wanna hear from everybody, and there is an enormous difference between a candidate that agrees on 95% of the issues with you and one that agrees on 2% of the issues with you. And when they get in, those differences are magnified, right? They're magnified. So what I've always done, for those of you who live in my district, and you probably know me, and for those of you who I'm getting to know, we always try to listen to people. We have 15 town halls in the last term, more town halls than any other member of Congress. As a governor, I want to listen to where people are at, always have an open mind about trying to take the best course, look at the data, the science, try to form the best decisions for the people of Colorado, and make sure that your voice is heard rather than the self-serving special interest voice. And that's what I'll always do. I'll be honored to have your help to get there. Sign up with Joe over there. Joe, who's one of our great volunteers for our field program. We have offices in Denver, 2 offices in Denver now, and 1 in Aurora, 1 in Adams County. I'm off to the Jeffco one. I think I'm off to Lakewood next. So we got to do this, folks. The stakes are higher than ever before. We always have policy differences in elections, but this election is about more than just policy differences. It's really about the integrity of our republic. It's about truth. It's about unity rather than the politics of divisiveness. And I think that's a powerful message when you're reaching out to your neighbors that might not always vote our way. They might only agree with me on 20% or 30% of issues. But the case to make is, this isn't about issues as much as it is about integrity and truth and making sure we can restore civility to our democratic republic. Thank you.